Boker Tov. Good morning to those of you on Zoom, and people will be coming in to, there are some folks here in the sanctuary already, and others will be joining. But yeah, just a little check if people can hear okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Brian. So, and So as we try to figure out, this is something new, how we're doing this. Hybrid is always a challenge, and we are yet trying to meet different people's needs in different ways. If you are on Zoom, though, and you would like to show your face so that you can all see one another, that would be great. And those of us here will be able
She's
to
just explaining something.
see one another.
She's just explaining something.
And see little pictures across the top of folks. So we are, there we go. Great, thanks.
It's not working.
Welcome, seventh graders, or coming, some of the seventh graders. I know so this is something new and in multiple different ways. One is starting at 9 o'clock with something for kids and adults and across the world and playing with the technology in a way that we have kind of in times before and also haven't in a little while. And so we're doing a lot of new things, so thank you all for this, for your patience with us this morning. And if you want to just let me know, so I am very excited to have here Erin. Right now you are sorry, I keep looking over here because this is where I can see the names of who's here, and instead of being able to see you right there, and then this is just the way the setup is so that congregants can see you. So those of you on Zoom and those of you in person, don't mind as I kind of am going back and forth like this. As again, we try to do something really special here during this holiday of Sukkot. I'm very excited. Let's see, would you?
The hell?
So we're doing this also at, again, transitionary time. So like I see parents coming in with religious school kids right across there. And as we try to navigate so many different schedules and the challenges of doing this during the High Holy Day season and the power of doing this at the High Holy Day season, during the holiday of Sukkot in particular, I thought that it can be a very important time to gather, because the holiday of Sukkot is all about the preciousness of life and the interconnection of everything. Right? We dwell for one season of time in this outside fragile structure. And as I spoke about on Yom Kippur and on Rosh Hashanah, isn't that the truth of what our life actually is living in a fragile structure? And within that, how do we really reconnect to the humanity and to the love and life and possibilities for thriving that the Sukkah also reminds us of? As we take the lulav and the etrog and we bring it together and we wave it in all 6 directions, it's really about remembering that life, that thriving is possible when we connect powerfully. So, just a little background about my inviting A Land for All, 2 states, 1 homeland, to our community. And to those of you who are not from Oseh Shalom, thank you for joining this morning, and welcome to our community. I lived in Israel for 3 years total, 1 year in college, 2 years in rabbinical school. And when I was in college, I volunteered at an Arab Israeli organization in Haifa. I was at the University of Haifa, particularly because the diversity that exists within Haifa. And in rabbinical school, I was part of the organization Rabbi Josh talked about, also the founding of the organization Encounter that brought Jewish rabbinical students, brought rabbinical students into encounters with Palestinians in the West Bank. In rabbinical school, we also went to Gaza, actually, before Israel had withdrawn. We were able to go there. And an important part that I knew even before rabbinical school, before college, is just so many different stories, right? Each one of us has a different story, has a different perspective, and we can learn so much when we slow down and listen and make space for another's perspective. And so being in Israel and in those different organizations and settings, I became close with the Bedouin family when I was in Haifa as well, really just opened me to the wondrousness of people coming together and sharing their different perspectives and that sense of oneness that can transcend, you look different from me and you are different from me and I have these assumptions about who you are. So fast forward to last year, October 7th, right? The trauma and shock that shook Israel, certainly, and the Jewish world. As you know, things settled a little bit, or as the weeks didn't settle really, as the weeks went on, I started to wonder, though, about this perspective I had of what happens when people can come together. And I know Israelis and Palestinians who want peace. And I know Israelis and Palestinians who are really in their trauma and really in their attack mode. And it all makes sense. And what could it be, I wondered, for the world to really mobilize and lift up those voices of those who want life? So when I learned about A Land for All through an organization called Interact, two I's, interact.org, you go and check them out, they do amazing work. So I learned about this organization, Interact, that was doing this women's leadership peacemaking series of Israeli and Palestinian women. It was happened last January. Some of you maybe saw the emails about the different, about that series, and I was very moved. And one of the pieces that was really particularly touching for me was when these two leaders came from A Land for All. And I thought, you know, because as much as I thought, well, can't those who really want life together from both sides come together? What would that take? But who am I as an American Jew, even with my connections to Israel, to really be saying, especially now at this time, like what anything should be happening? But when I heard that there are Palestinian and Israeli leaders who are indeed doing this and have been working together and have been studying conflicts and have been saying a military solution is not the answer, we need a political solution, and we have been studying conflicts, we've been looking at what works, we've been building relationships, we have been doing this, and all the more so now, let us move forward this work in more powerful ways. So I thought, okay, it's not just me and my ideas over here in America, but this is happening right here in Israel. How can we amplify these voices, this work? So that is my introduction to being so excited to bring A Land for All to us today. So Aaron is hopefully on here, on here. Aaron,
Hi.
are you able to?
I am with you. I'm sorry. I was just communicating with Avi, who is one of the two members of Land for All that are going to speak with us today. And if you could just give me 1 or 2 minutes, I need to resend him the link and I'll come right back to you, okay?
Okay, perfect.
I apologize. Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, if you are here in person, so you did not necessarily register. Those of you who registered in the confirmation email, and we can send it all out to the congregation as well, is a recording also of a recent conversation between the co-directors of A Land for All. So today we will be joined by Avi Dabush, and who is a rabbi and also the executive director of Rabbis for Human Rights in Israel. And he is also survivor of October 7th attack on kibbutz Nirim. And Opal is with Breaking the Silence, which is an amazing organization as well. I will just read quickly what they say on their website. So Breaking the Silence is an organization of veteran soldiers, IDF soldiers, who've served in the Israeli military since the start of the Second Intifada. And they've taken it upon themselves to expose the public to the everyday life in the occupied territories. They endeavor to stimulate public debate about the price that's paid for a reality in which young soldiers face a civilian population on a daily basis and are engaged in the control of that population's everyday life. And their work aims to bring an end to the occupation. Right? So again, this isn't just about Rabbi Josh and Rabbi Daria saying, oh, there should be peace and oh, there's problems in Israel and the way that Israel is meant, using the power that it has in different ways. There's, we understand deeply the reason, why, as deeply as we can, I'd say, the reasons for the occupation and how it is existing in the way it is. And we also see and understand that there are other pathways forward. And how can we, again, bring to the American public these voices that are within Israel that are also naming, hey, there's challenges here. And yes, the IDF does really great things morally, and there's also real challenges in how the IDF is, right? And what's happening in Israel in different systems. So how can we bring with love and compassion and curiosity our personal perspective to what we can hear Israelis speak about from their own perspective? Because they, of course, are the ones with the greatest stake in this whole situation. So, Aaron, when you are back and want to
I am
speak more
back.
about A Land for All first yourself, then feel free to come back and do so, and I can keep
Good, I am back.
talking and asking questions a little bit. But excellent, great.
Good. Dar, you have proven
You're
your
muted right now, maybe.
no. I don't think so.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Great. Yes.
Great. You've proven your rabbinical chops by filling in and keeping us going while we're waiting for Avi. Avi Dabush is one of the speakers who is joining us now. He had some trouble getting on, and I believe he is about to join us any minute. Let's see, I need a password. Dara, do you know what the password is? Is there a number or a?
There is a number, and again, oops.
Six 692682.
69. Say it again, please.
692682.
Thank you. 692682. So Avi is about to get on, hopefully, once we figure out all this technical issues. Thank you all for being here. My name is Aaron Back. I hadn't planned on speaking with you, but I'm happy to speak with you. I was going to speak at the end and speak a little bit about our work in the US. I really wanted Avi and Opal, who are in Israel, to talk about the work from the ground up. But as we wait for Avi to join, let me just say, I was, as Daria was speaking about the appropriateness of having this conversation today during Sukkot, that when we were in our Sukkot earlier in the week, we were also reflecting on the theme of transience, not just human frailty, but physical transience that that Sukkot holiday represents, and reflecting on the dislocation of Israelis from their homes, primarily in the north and the south, but also the massive dislocation of Palestinians in Gaza, Palestinians and others in Lebanon, and how the fragileness of the Sukkah, which we only have to put up with for 7 days, is a phenomena that is a more permanent or more ongoing feature of life in Israel and the surrounding lands. A Land for All is a political movement And everybody's able to hear me, right? You can just shake it. Okay, terrific. I'm just going to glance at my phone, make sure that if Avi's trying to reach me. A Land for All is a political movement of Israelis and Palestinians who are imagining a viable path forward from the awfulness of where we are now towards a better future. I say sort of just in a simple that simple introduction belies the complexity and the uniqueness of the fact that Israelis and Palestinians are together. Okay, Davi is just about to join. And let me see if he's here.
Aaron,
Hi, Avi. Let me just finish my sentence, then I'll pitch.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can finish more than one. It's okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. Avi is, as you can see, driving. Another indication of impermanence of this moment. But the fact that in any setting, in any time period, the fact that Israelis and Palestinians would be working together as co-equals to imagine a better future and to work collectively towards that is unique enough on its own. But the fact that they are doing this during this particular moment in time, when essentially the two communities are at war with each other, or at least are at war with the militias and the forces that reflect the military arm of the communities, says a lot. And the Land for All is an idea that's been around for more than a decade. It's really has a movement of intellectuals and activists and thinkers and journalists, both within Israel and Palestine, who have been trying to imagine their way out of the kind of dead end that we have fallen into in terms of imagining a different scenario that will create an actual viable solution to the conflict. I think many have this experience of sitting together was born out of, in some way, the political, the feeling that the two-state model, which was at the beginning of the Oslo period, the model that gave a sense of hope that there was a future that we could work towards, had become a kind of a hollow shell in which people on political leadership would talk about the peace process, would talk about a two-state solution, but didn't take into account all of the embedded structural impediments to achieving a two-state solution, and also didn't take into account the fact that there are core issues that cannot be addressed within a zero-sum scenario in which one has to give in order for the other side to get. The model of two states, one homeland very much still incorporates the necessity of two states. Both peoples need and want their own state in which they can exercise their self-determination, their national sovereignty. But the one homeland model is a way to address and think about all the ways in which Israelis and Palestinians are intertwined and intermingled, and they're rooted in each other's lives and each other's actual physical land. And the one homeland add on to the two-state model is a way to give form to imagining how Israelis and Palestinians might build another layer of interaction that would allow them to move out of the zero-sum game mentality. And at the moment, we are thinking about this in a kind of a confederal structure in which two states would have all of their own elements that states have, but then there would be a kind of a superstructure of joint institutions that would allow for interactive problem solving around the issues that have no boundaries, such as environment, such as security, such as climate change and such, but would also allow for innovative ways to address the links that both Israelis and Palestinians have to land beyond their borders. What do you do with settlers? What do you do with refugees? And maybe Avi will talk a little bit about how that looks in our imagination. But I'll just end by saying this has been obviously an extremely traumatic year, but it also, and continues to be so, but also shows what's the word? the absolute fallacy of the notion that the status quo is fine and that the way to solve the problem is to build the walls higher. The wall didn't help in the South. We have to find ways in which we address the conflict and not just say, you know, eventually they'll leave or will, you know, neither side is leaving. Either Israelis are staying and Palestinians are staying. How do we solve the conflict? Avi, I'll pitch this over to you. You can talk a little bit about yourself and then talk a little bit about a land for all. And we'll be sure to leave time for questions.
Okay, so thank you. I don't know what's the source of this mixed up, but I thought that we are in our time. It's supposed to be in 5, but we will do our best. And actually, now I'm going in my way. I'm going back to my home as a displaced from Nirim. I was now at my real home in Kibbutz Nirim on the border of Gaza. Actually, maybe some of you were together with me and others in Nirim. It was, I guess, 2 years ago. Claudia knows the numbers. And unfortunately, we lost our home and we still can't come back. So I just met a group that wanted to talk with me in Nirim. So we will have an opportunity to talk about that in more detailed way, but my apologize and sincere, you know, we are in Elul and I'm a new rabbi, so I feel a lot of guilt and shame about it. And we will talk more about my personal story and views and so on, I guess in November, I believe. But today we have the opportunity, as Aaron really started to talk with you about maybe to imagine another reality. You know, I just spoke with people from the center of Israel, from Tel Aviv, and many of them, after we finished, said that they thank me only because I talked about another possibility and about peace and diplomatic solution. And again, even if it's very hard to a lot of Israelis to see it happens now or in the next years or the next year. It is so important for us to push for that. And I will start in the place that you finished, Aaron, that maybe the gap between war and peace is, you know, it's shorter than status quo and peace. Because we had a leader, we have a leader, but till October 7th, he could sell us, and is really talented in that, sell us the idea that we can be in peace. Most of us, not me, not in Nirim and in the Gaza envelope, and not the Palestinians, not in the West Bank and not in Gaza, but most of the Israelis can you know, go to sleep in some kind of idea of quiet. And it's okay, occupation or not, whatever you think about it, you can really find a way to live your normal life. And it's not like that since October 7th. And Land for All started, I guess, around 8 years ago, or something like that, when I met the Israeli founder, Meron Rapoport. It was the first time that I heard left-wing activist that talked about the emotions and the deep roots of the people, the Palestinians and the Israelis, the Zionists, the Palestinians, the Arabs and Jews in this land, and talked about the shared land. And I just mentioned the rabbinic angle. I'm the CEO of Rabbis for Human Rights. One of the, I guess, kind of inspirations to this movement is Rabbi Menachem Fruman, which has a very famous quote that he said that the land doesn't belong to us, but we belong to the land. And this is really deep idea, and I guess we can find it in Judaism all over. even in the first Rashi that right-wing people really love to talk about. But he said that it's on condition, and this land. So it's not ours in terms of like our property. It's a place that we can flourish, we can bring our thoughts, ideas, and philosophy into life, but it depends on the way we live our life, and of course our moral life. So this is really a general what I really felt when I talked with Meron. That was the first time that someone from the left really understood why my family came from Libya and Syria to this land, and it wasn't about good life or to live in Tel Aviv or to be in high tech or something like that. They dreamed and prayed for Hebron and Nablus and Jerusalem and so on. So there is a deep root feelings and emotions to the Jews in the West Bank. And of course, the opposite way around, also right, because I grew up, I was born and grew up in Ashkelon. Ashkelon used to be Majdal, and Majdal was a big Palestinian town before 48. And of course, we know the dream of the Palestinians to go back to their home. It was really funny, is not the word, but interesting to hear the people from Tel Aviv asking me about the community, Nirim. And I told them more than 80% want to come back to Nirim. We still can't, but we want to come back. And they were like in shock. Why do you want to come back? Because this is our home. So, of course, as Jews, we can understand. Sometimes Israelis try to make fun of this phenomena of this, this key that the mothers or grandmothers, the Palestinians have still from their lost homes. But of course, we can understand that because we are talking about 2,000 years of longing and praying for this home or homeland. So that was the first time that I really heard about this idea. And the basic idea, as Aaron said, goes with the idea of two-state solution, but goes in a way against, it's not against like in a conflict, but against the idea of separation. And this is a very deep-rooted idea that we used to have in the Oslo Accord days in the 90s, like this imagination, and that was the slogan, that they will be there, we will be here, and there will be peace on Israel. But of course, this is not the reality. And Land for All, it's an opportunity to look to the reality in the eyes. And we have to do it in order to only begin to solve this very complicated situation. And the reality is that there is no separation. We have this shared homeland, and we live together inside of Israel, of course, more than 2 million Palestinians, Arab citizens in Israel, and of course in the West Bank and Gaza. And right now, the right wing in Israel, maybe the radical, but more and more, even in the Likud, are trying to push the government to go back to Gaza and even to Lebanon. And this is, again, the idea of living together. Of course, they want to conquer and to push out the Palestinians and so on, but we can't live or see another life. And we can't see really a life of separation. So the idea is to have sovereignty, and I consider myself a Zionist, and I want land for Jews, and I guess I think this is our right, between the nations, and also for the Palestinians, and this is their right. But I can see a real way to live in these two nations separately, because we have those citizens in Israel. And of course, we have what we call now settlers. And in a new reality, they can live there under the laws of Palestine as Jews and as Israeli citizens. And maybe the last thing that is really important for me in this idea of land for all is to have a new shift and a new idea of how can we imagine a new reality. Because for many years, you know, from the 90s, the left wing, and of course I'm part of it. I was a candidate in Meretz, and I understand that, and this is part of not my old legacy, because I used to be part of Bnei Akiva and so on, but my political thought. But now we have to think in another way. And of course, after October 7th, it's really evident. But even before that, we must understood that we must think about new solutions. We must think about solutions. It's not enough to have questions. The right wing have solutions. It's very bad and dangerous one, but they have solution. They are talking about annexation. They are talking about transfer. They are talking about allowing people or trying to invest in explain to the Palestinians that they will have a better reality in another place. And of course, this is fantasies from the 70s and the 80s, and it doesn't really work. And we have to have solutions. And this kind of a solution is a solution that comes from the reality of shared homeland. It comes from the reality of very deep-rooted emotions that connected the Jews and Arabs in this area to this homeland, and connect to the reality of having a political model that try to see how can we have this both nations and states, Palestine and Israel, but also have a connection between those two states. And actually, I dream, and this is more naive and maybe a long-term dream, I really dream about some kind of Middle East union. And the idea of confederation is idea of the European Union. And you can say, of course, there are a lot of problems with this union, and this is true, but it's much better, of course, from hundreds of years of bloodshed and, of course, the reality of two world wars. So this is our idea. We have the best people in this movement. And also, maybe this is the only, right now, this is the only peace movement in Israel that have the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. So this is part of what we pray and preach for, and we are making as a reality in the movement, working together with Palestinians. And of course, it's very complicated. Of course, after October 7th, but even before, it's not that my fellow Palestinians are now Zionist, or I'm becoming part of the Palestinian movement, and I have exactly the same thought as they have, and ideas and philosophy. But this is the way to work together. The attempt to bring a diplomatic solution for many years suffered from this ill that the Israelis talked between themselves and the Palestinians talked between themselves. Saib Arikat used to say that he was one of the Palestinian leaders, that the Israelis are talking between themselves or with the Americans, and then they think they figure it out, and they have the the perfect agreement, and then they are coming to the Palestinian and say, sign that. And of course, this is not the way to have a shared solution and to solve the conflict. So I'm really proud to be part of this movement, and I guess we can talk a lot But I really want us to open the conversation, because this is a long-term conversation, and we need you to be partners and to help us to have a solution better and better and more evident in the reality of Israel and the political sphere. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Avi, Rabbi Avi. And right, so we live in a sukkah, as I said on Yom Kippur. What's going on? And we get caught off guard. Oh my gosh, time differences, right? Some of the challenges of trying to coordinate this, mistakes happen and different things. So we're so glad that you are able to drive safely and to join us still for this conversation. I have a couple questions to start, and also cards were passed out so that you can also write questions, and we'll do our best. We know that time is short. We will not be able to answer all the questions. Those of you on Zoom, if you want to put questions into the chat, we will also look at that and try to consolidate and give a couple different focus questions for Rabbi Avi to respond to, and then as he heads off around a little before 10 o'clock. Then Aaron, if you are going to bring things to a close and tell us about a little bit more about what can we do, as Rabbi Avi said, they need our help, and so what can we specifically do here as American Jews and Israelis here, and the whole gamut, as those of us here on this side of the big pond. So a couple different questions. If you could speak a little bit about who is in this movement and what has changed since October 7th, and specifically for you. You were on a kibbutz that was attacked. You're now living in Beersheba. You want to go back. How has October 7th shifted your relationship to what's possible? And that's probably good. Some good starters.
Wow. Yeah. It's a very heavy questions. I guess right now in the movement you can find what I would call leaders from the academy, from the political sphere, from the civil society. We have two wonderful CEOs, Mai and Rula, of course, Palestinian one and Israeli one. And we have a board and founders. As I said, Meron and Auni are the founders, the first one that started this movement and idea. But then again, a lot of us came and took part in this movement. And now we are in the midst of trying to have this organization that holds a movement. So this is really complicated. If you are civil society people, you understand what do I mean, because there is the NGO and the whole structure, the legal structure, but we need to have a structure of a movement that are really part of the people and have a lot of energy inside of it. And of course, this is a part of the debate and the tension. About myself, as you mentioned, we are displaced more than a year. We were under a Hamas attack for 2 days, and we left on Sunday afternoon on October 8th with the army, of course, helping us to move to Eilat. We were there for 4 months in an hotel, all the community of Nirim. And then around February, we moved as a community to Beersheba. We still can't go back as to security issues. And now we are talking about maybe next summer we can move back to Nirim. And of course, this is really hard. I said that I'm just coming back from Nirim. If you know the area, it's a tragedy of an area. It's not a tragedy of one community or one family. Of course, a lot of families and a lot of communities, but also an area that I really love, the West Negev. the Western Negev. And I guess for me, in a way, I can say that sometimes I'm saying that the roadmap changed, like the role of Hamas. Like 10 years ago on Protective Edge, on summer of 2014, I led the establishment of the movement for the future of the Western Negev. And people were telling us, we were talking about diplomatic solution. And that was a very interesting movement because there was people from Sderot and Ofakim and Netivot and Ashkelon and also, of course, the kibbutzim. And people ask us, what diplomatic solution? With who will you talk? So we said we will talk with everyone. You know, of course, the Palestinian Authority, Egypt, Qatar, UN, US, but also Hamas. Because then, you know, Netanyahu was the first one to talk with Hamas, and we know now how he, in a way, make them stronger, and weakening the Palestinian Authority. Now, I must say that as a father, but also as a kind of a political leader and a CEO of Rabbis for Human Rights, I don't want the Hamas to be in charge and to be part of the new government in Gaza. Of course, it's not only me to decide, it's the Palestinians, but I guess for the Israelis and the Palestinians, it's better that Hamas, as an idea, we can't kill it, of course. And there will be, and of course also, unfortunately also in Israel, there are radical streams, violent radical streams of Jewish supremacy, or in that case of very violent Islamic ideas. But I don't want the Hamas to be part of the solution. So this is part of the roadmap. But in terms of values, again, of peace, of equality, of justice, this is our values. We just came out from Sukkot, but also from Yom Kippur, and we have this haftarah on Yeshayahu that is talking in a way, mocking us about the fasting of Yom Kippur, and saying that it's not the way that God wants it, and we need to have a fight against evil, and we need to help the poor and the homeless and so on. So I can't really, I don't have another values. And in a lot of ways, I can say that I'm worried more from the war, the physical war, which is really important. And of course, this is basic human right to live our life in security. It's more important for me, the war on our values. And right now, our values are in a great danger. You know, there are a lot of people, not the majority of people in Israel, but maybe the people that shout louder and more violently, that we have to throw all these values and just have one. The only one value is force, and we need to be more and more violent, and we need to invest more and more force, and this is the only way and the only thing that we have to invest in. And I can't believe in that. And I guess for me, it's a thing that put in danger our all Jewish culture, you know, culture and religion and so on. So for me, October 7th and what is happening now and all throughout this year, really deepening my concern, my obligation to those values.
Great, thank you so much. So a couple other questions, and then also just a time check that I think you might want to, Aaron, while Avi is responding to my next question, check with Temple Beth Zion, TBZ, because I think, Rabbi Avi, you were going to be there at the top of the hour. So just while you're driving and knowing how we can help one another with these different time things, you want to check about that so we can also be clear about all that. So a couple questions. What is your theory of change for a land for all? Is it about building numbers or influencing decision makers or something else? Like, yeah. So I'll just stop with that question first.
It's a very good question, and I guess I can't say that I'm fully capable to say that we have this decision. In the first years, definitely we talked more about grassroots and from the field to the top work. But now in the last years, we are working more with the political arena. I must say, and Aaron mentioned that I was part of Meretz. I was candidate in Meretz and was one of their leaders for 4 years. Right now, it's really frustrating to see the political sphere in Israel because there is no clear alternative and vision. And I hope that this kind of vision, and of course, I'm not talking only about those issues, but right now this is the burning issues, the diplomatic and security issues. I guess we really would want more people. We have Knesset members that believe in this model, but leaders that have more power in this arena to take this model as their model and to push more for vision and solutions, and not only saying, okay, Bibi is bad because he's corrupted and of course, we have a lot of criticism about the government, what they are doing now, what they did before October 7th, the violence, as I mentioned, and so on. But we must say, what do we believe? And I guess I really believe and hope and even pray sometimes that that will be one of the models and maybe the leading model that the center left in Israel will take as a political model for solving the issues and the conflict.
Okay, thank you. And so speaking of the current government, what are the options, like how to proceed with this vision that A Land for All has with the relationships in a way that feels most effective? Just to what does one do? And here in America, we have our own government challenges. Yeah.
Aaron, do you want to answer that?
Okay. You are muted, Aaron.
Sorry. Daria, was your question related to how to deal with political leadership in Israel or in the US?
In Israel.
In Israel. So Avi, why don't you just continue there?
Sorry, I understood that you are talking about the US. Wow. I guess we have to convince the political leaders that there is an electorate, there is enough people that hold these ideas. We can see actually on polls that this is the ideas that a lot of Israelis, sometimes the majority wants. They want and understand that we need a political solution, a diplomatic solution, but there isn't enough political courage because the loudest voices in the media and in Israel, the loudest voices are against that or saying you are crazy. What are you talking about? They are all animals. They are all monsters, and so on. And I really can understand that some of the Israelis can relate to that, and there is a lot of fear and anger and disappointment and sadness and so on. But again, a responsible political leaders must have a solution. And as we know, political leaders, they need to know that they have people that vote for that. So we need to convince them that there is this crowd that will support that need that, and really want that.
Great, thank you. So, right, it's really about increasing Americans' knowledge and certainly Israelis' knowledge, it sounds like, of just, yes, there are partners, yes, we are working with people, and making sure that the democratic process can at some level work, that they know that, that's what's important and critical. So with the radicals that are so prevalent in Israel, and again, as I talk about this, my point about America is just that we've got our own situation with radicals and challenging governments in here. How to, what do I actually want to say about that? I guess is there anything else you want to add about the radicalization in Israel and ways to address that? And again, Aaron can speak about what we can do here after you get off, but if there's anything you particularly want to say about that as well.
Yeah, again, to emphasize the point that we as Jews and Jewish leaders must be really concerned. But it's like, we have a lot of prayers for the hostages, and of course this is so important. And some of them still, we lost our hostages in Nirim, and they were murdered in Gaza and so on. But still, we have a lot of friends and people that we know and so on. But praying is not enough, and we should act, and we should lead in the streets, but also in like talking in a very courageous ways about the solutions that are really hard. So we have alliance and partnership with you, of course, to that, because this is, as I mentioned, really something in the heart. I guess some of you know the famous singer Ehud Banai. He just talked about that. This is for him the most meaningful way to be Jew, and you must have, as he said, mesirut nefesh, to even put in stake your soul or even your body in order to promote peace. So I guess for me, this is the emphasis that we have to do much more in order to promote peace.
Thank you. And to that end, can you speak a little bit about the impact that A Land for All has had, that that you know about in terms of convincing Israelis and seeing Israelis come out and say, "Oh my gosh, yes, we can do this"?
Sure. And Avi, I don't actually know your next, I'm sorry, just going to communicate to Avi. I don't know where your next event is. So if it is at the top of the hour, you should feel free to jump off. And
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Avi.
Temple Beth Zion.
Temple Beth Zion, yeah.
Yeah, TBZ.
Yeah, I will be there.
In,
I guess this is the source of the mix-up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Avi, so much for your flexibility and ability to pivot on the spot. Wow, there's so much. First of all, let me say that there's a whole host of materials that I would be thrilled to share with you that could answer some of the questions that have been asked but not answered, and give you a deeper sense of the model, the political vision. And I think what I'll do, Daria, if it's okay, is I will early this week send a bunch of materials off to you, and then you can distribute it to the members of this call as you see fit. And then I'll also put my email there so that people can communicate to me if they want to follow up in any way. So thank you for that. I just wanted to underscore one and give an example when Avi was talking about the absolute need for political imagination and how the vision of A Land for All is trying to do that. the scope of envisioning future has become so narrow. You know, we look at speaking about our holidays, you know, we've traveled through narrow spaces, and the ability to imagine a more hopeful future and to think creatively about how to deal with what are really challenging issues it is really one of the unique value added of a Land for All. So let me give you one example. Somebody asked a question in the chat about what do you do with the right of return? You could alternatively also ask, what do you do with settlers? We have people on both sides who feel, as Avi said, so deeply committed to the land. You know, for the settlers, the land was promised to Jews. For the Palestinians, it was their home that they lost in deep trauma. What if you used as an example of political imagination, and rather than to say, no, that doesn't exist, they're longing for land on both sides, what if we imagine a political solution that could help to bridge the gaps between the two? So one of the issues, one of the strategies that we're now exploring is the notion that some numbers of Palestinians, first of all, the right of return would be recognized, which means the right would be recognized, but the actuality of a certain number of Palestinians coming back within the boundaries of Israel, living there, would be facilitated if they were given permission to come back, but not as Israeli citizens, but as permanent residents of Israel. They would retain their Palestinian citizenship because, again, there'd be two states, Israel and Palestine, and they would be bound by the laws of Israel, but would have their sovereignty represented by Palestine, where they'd be citizens. Conversely, settlers who would agree to live under the laws and the sovereignty of a Palestinian state would be allowed to continue living in Palestine as Israeli citizens, voting in the Israeli Knesset, but living as permanent residents in Palestine, being able to vote for local council leadership and such. There are endless numbers of obfuscations or challenges to that model, which we all understand need to be worked out. But what it represents is that if one has political will to solve problems, both in the creative imagination and intelligence of Israelis and Palestinians and our allies around the world, these are issues that could be solved. It's not a matter of we can't think our way out of it. There has to be a will to do that. And I think that the organizing in Israel is to open up that space. I think for the last several decades, Israelis have really been beat down by political leadership that have told them there is no future but through might and through basically forcing the other side to admit defeat and to give up their demands. I'm speaking to you from the U.S. I have been working in the Israel political and human rights scene for several decades, and Land for All has asked me to help advance their work here. We're trying to raise their visibility, doing calls like we're doing today in synagogues and other communities, talking to people in the political echelon in the US and think tanks and research institutions so that we can get more support and understanding for this model. We are also doing similar kind of work in Europe amongst political leadership in the European Union and other states. We're getting a lot of interest amongst governments in the Gulf states who are asking us to come and brief them and to talk to them about this model. So this is something that's beginning to percolate, and unfortunately, the war is an instigant. You know, the outcome might be positive, but the means are obviously not the desired ones. But people are trying to imagine a future and need new tools, and we're helping to provide them with that. So just in terms of the US, if there's some, when people say, how can we help? At the moment, which I would say, learn more about our model, and I'll help you by sending some of the materials out to you. We also have a website. When you speak to friends or colleagues in your respective communities, whatever they may be, and that you feel like they're kind of reflecting the despair that so many of us feel, please, try and represent this model as an alternative to that sense of despair. I think this is a slow process, but it builds, and I think we have to push back against the sense of like nothing will ever change and we have to give up. If you have people who are in positions of visibility, or work in the media or other arenas in which their awareness of this can help, and their publicizing our work can help us get out there more broadly, please, think of yourself as an ambassador. You've been knighted with ambassadorship. And we always need money, like any other group that's doing this work. And if you want to make a contribution, you could do so through the website as well.
Great, thank you so much. So that last point that Aaron was mentioning about being ambassadors, when you think about like, well, I'm just here and I'm going to talk to a couple friends, know that if you choose to be an ambassador of this work, of this vision, if you didn't get your question answered, Aaron, I will also send you a couple other questions that we didn't get to see if you can reply and share your responses back with that. But as he said, there's a lot of information on their website. We'll put out a link. There's a recent recording of those co-directors that we'll share that as well, so you can get more information hearing from them speak. But when you choose to be an ambassador of just knowing that there is an organization, maybe you contribute, maybe you share it with somebody else, maybe you're just even holding that possibility in there and you're spreading the light of that energy as opposed to letting yourself collapse, which is also easy in this political climate in the world, into hopelessness and despair. No, there are people who are working together. And I'm joining forces with the Pope. The Pope was recently an ambassador for A Land for All, 2 states, 1 homeland at the G7. For the first time ever, peacemakers were being invited in. Oh, isn't that interesting? Who comes to these negotiations, as Avi was talking about before? What's happened before is, well, we're on our side and we're talking, we're coming with something, and we tell you this is what you should do. Well, who likes to be told what to do, right? I think we've got children, we know they don't like it, we don't like it. And so what's happening now that's different is there's co-creators. This has been co-created, this plan, this visionary document that's grounded in pragmatic reality. And the conversation, as obvious as it seems like it should have been, is finally happening where peacemakers are being considered to be invited to the table, as opposed to just military leaders, diplomats who don't have the relationships, haven't necessarily been studying conflicts around the world and seeing what happened in Northern Ireland, what happened between France and Germany, that they were at war, a very, very bloody war for a long time. And who thinks that France and Germany is at war now? Or we didn't even know, maybe I didn't know about it, I didn't think about it until studying this. So there can be hope. And perhaps October 7th was the wake-up call for the region, for the world, to say, you know what, we can't do this anymore. As Rabbi Avi said, like Israelis could wake up and not be facing the conflict. Many of them could. And so how do we really say, you know what, maybe separation, one of the questions before was about the separation barrier. Well, it's true, it didn't work. And so are we doubling down and actually getting to know one another and build relationships and invite in the other perspectives? That's what's happening now. That's what's possible. May we spread that light through the interconnection and wake up all that energy in all 6 dimensions as we shake that lulav to bring fertility and thriving into this world. And let us say, Amen. So thank you so much, Aaron. I look forward to your email and to sharing what you have to share with us. To those who registered, if you're not part of our community, we'll send it out to you as well as to those of you here in our community. And do you have any final words, Aaron?
I just thank you so much for inviting us in to speak with you, and I wish you all Chag Sameach.
Toda gam lacha. So thank you all on Zoom, and yeah, we look forward to continuing to see how we can spread light at this season. So.